Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome in to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast.
Huddle up!
This is the first preview episode that we're doing. We're going to try to do one post game every week, and then we will always do one post game every week. We're also going to try to squeeze in a preview episode every week. Not going to guarantee it's going to happen every time.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're not going to guarantee it's going to lead to a victory.
I mean,
because we haven't done one yet, and they're 0-2. So obviously, if we do a preview episode, they're going to win Week 3 against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like the sound of that one.
Is that our prediction?
Yes.
No, that's Mitch and
Jim's prediction. Yeah, they still haven't answered my calls.
Episode 59. I got somebody. Do you got somebody?
I have 3 names,
Really?
but there's one that stands out to me more than others.
So I just went straight from memory. Were those all from your memory, or did you look up any?
2 of them were from memory, and then I looked up.
All right, so I'm sure the person I'm thinking you have. Roosevelt Colvin?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was my guy.
Okay.
The reason being is that was my time.
Yeah.
I've seen him play.
Right.
The other one that I looked up, or the one that I looked up, was Ron Rivera, which I didn't know
that's
that was his
right.
number.
Yes.
I
That's right.
clearly didn't ring a bell to me.
Now that you say it, it comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like overall he's probably the episode.
Okay, true.
But then the other one was Danny Trevathan.
Oh,
A little bit of time
how
here.
Soon we forget.
Yeah.
He was 59. Okay.
So
for some reason, Colvin just came to my mind.
same.
So,
I mean,
that was the golden era for us.
that was. I mean,
so many championships.
I mean, compared to the last 30 years.
In our heads.
Yes.
Relative to former Bears levels of success.
That's right.
Speaking of, I heard a joke that said, what's the difference between a Bears fan and Marty McFly? Marty McFly stopped going back to 1985. And us Bears fans, we can't. We have to keep going back to 85.
Wow, I love that.
I don't. I resemble that statement.
We're going to try to keep these relatively quick, anywhere between 25 and 35 minutes, 30 being the goal. I do want to say, because there's a lot going on, we're not going to address very much of it today because we're moving on to the Chiefs. We're like the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Earmuffs.
What's going on? Nothing.
We're moving on to the Chicago Bears. All that I will say is that there's a lot of craziness going on. Clearly, there's something going on with the Alan Williams situation. The health and personal stuff, I think that's just a kind of like a cover at this point because that's all they really can say. I think there's legal matters involved. I do believe his attorney that there probably hasn't been any charges presented, so therefore he can say the things that he has said. My one source that I have regarding that situation has not given me any confirmation of yes or no with the FBI thing, so we're going to just let it go. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll just wait for the facts.
I agree. I'll just say a couple things. One, it's just not a good look. I mean, it just speaks to dysfunction. But the thing I want to kind of go to, though, is I've heard some people talk about how close Eberflus is to Alan Williams and like he's your guy and you brought him here.
Yes.
I'm not going to go down that road. It's kind of similar, actually, to when Nate Davis was going through whatever he was going through. And we now find out it was probably an illness and then a death in the family where people wanted to put that on polls as a bad signing. And I'm thinking there's things you don't know about a person when you make certain decisions and people's lives change.
Yes.
And so I'm going to kind of assume that for the Alan Williams situation, whatever the heck is going on, I doubt Eberflus had any inkling that that was an issue when he brought him on.
Most people can keep those things very secretive.
Right. And not to mention, and this is just my last thing I'm going to say about this, but from an X's and O's standpoint, I haven't been that impressed with Alan Williams anyway.
No, defense played much better last week than they did.
And I'm even going back to last season. I think the whole coaching staff got like a pass from us last season, but
because we thought the talent was bad.
Right. But I have not been that impressed.
Now the coaching has been kind of bad.
Yeah.
All right. So
Hey, what's up, Justin Fields? Okay, that's another thing we won't talk. There's too much to not talk about.
There's way too much going on. But Actually, I will bring up the Justin Fields thing a little bit later. But we have a few segments. We're going to go through things each week. Every week, we're going to hit the injury report. We're going to come up with what we're going to call Bears of the Week or most important Bears, MIB. I haven't really fully decided, but right now we're just going to stick with Bears of the Week.
MIB might confuse people. Men in Black.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. Men in Blue.
There you go. Well, basically finding key matchups for the game coming up.
Correct. One on offense, one on defense each week. We'll alternate on who we present as the people that we think are the most important. Then we're going to do an opponent's overview where we just quickly gloss over the opponent that they're playing for that week. And then we're going to have the final segment will just be like Coach's Corner, where Justin and I basically give our breakdown of what we think is probably most important for the Chicago Bears to focus on, for them to try and win each week. Okay. All right. So before we do that, hit the subscribe button, guys and girls, and whatever, I don't want to be gender stereotyping. So maybe you're non-binary, whatever it is, you're out there. Hit the subscribe button, because if you do, you got a chance to win a free NFL Chicago Bears jersey. Okay, I know that they're on the bottom of the barrel right now, but it's free, guys. All you got to do is subscribe, and it's free.
So you said at first it was a Fields jersey, then it was any Bear, and then you just at first I thought you were like any NFL jersey.
No,
like still a Bears jersey.
Still a Bears jersey.
All right,
still a Bears jersey.
Fair enough.
All right, let's get to the injury report. All right, we're going to look at both teams. Joshua Blackwell is no longer on the injury report. He doesn't have a game designation, right? He had some limited and full practices this week, so he is not listed. He should be playing. That's good because Kyler Gordon's still going to be out.
Yep.
Nate Davis is questionable. He was a limited participant today, did not practice yesterday. Eddie Jackson is doubtful. Probably not going to be playing. Khalid Kareem, that guy that, they just had to have instead of Travis Gibson or Terrell Smith, right? Terrell Lewis, I'm sorry, wrong name. He's also a Bear, though. Had to have Khalid Kareem, not even playing again.
I thought that you went clearly through all the segments, and none of them were Rob's rant.
No, yes, none of them were Rob's rants. Darnell Mooney looks like he's good to go, even though he's dealing with a little bit of a knee. So, yeah.
Well, hold on. The biggest news, you put a picture of the guy, but you didn't include him on the injury. I guess he's not technically on the injury report.
Exactly. So he's there. I was going to mention him at the end, but since Justin brought him up, Braxton Jones is gone, guys, for at least 4 games and possibly the whole entire season. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. Let's just quickly, I guess, talk about it. There's rumors, or not rumors, but from Matt Eberflus himself stating that they are considering moving Darnell Wright to left tackle. Today, he kind of backtracked on that a little bit and said he kind of prefers him staying in his original spot just because it's his first year. Mm-hmm. He wants him to develop. And he also talked up, and I don't know if it was a direct question because I didn't actually listen to it live, so it might have been a direct question to him and he had to respond to it. But Larry Borum had a great practice, guys. Great practice. We know how much Eberflus loves practice, but would not commit to him being the starting left tackle on Sunday.
So a couple things. First of all, Braxton Jones, I'm sorry to hear that he's going through an injury like this.
Yes.
When you look at last season, he was one of the only players on the team that could say that he played every single snap. And so durability was one of his positive traits.
And outside of his mental mistakes with the penalties, he's looked good.
Yeah. So I think that's a big loss. Now, as to should Darnell Wright move over, that's a very serious thing to talk about. Now, one of the knocks we kind of mentioned about a rookie last year, different position, different side of the ball actually, was putting too much on a guy like Kyler Gordon to learn slot and outside at the same time.
Yeah.
And to me, you'd be doing a similar thing for Wright, particularly if you're doing it as a Band-Aid fix. So if Braxton Jones is coming back in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, which they may have no clue at this point.
Correct.
I don't know that it makes any sense to move Wright over, then you move him back, and now in the course of a season, you have him seesawing between right tackle and left tackle. Now, the only way I could see it being a move is if you legitimately thought, hey, this is an opportunity to see if Wright can be our left tackle, be our left tackle. But when you go all the way back to the draft, he was one of the guys I felt like they picked him because he could anchor them on the right side.
I felt the same way.
And so I don't know. I say just leave him there and see what. I mean, we kind of know what you can expect out of Borum. When I heard Peterman was cut, I was wondering if that was to sign some sort of more proven veteran to come play left tackle, but that's not what happened.
They did attempt to get somebody, and I don't know who it was, but they decided not to come. So
as I would,
especially after what just happened this week, right? Because that was the same day.
Yeah.
Right. So
they just threw that in. Hey,
they had
enough news going on.
Yeah, so. They had to cut Peter in by 3:00, and then it's just like, well, did you see what happened to your organization today? I'm not coming there.
Cutting your backup quarterback was like the fourth most important story of the day.
Oh, it was bad.
That's a bad day. Sorry. So now that's the Bears side of things.
Yeah. So on the Chiefs side, I mean, the names that stand out to me here, Nick Bolton's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a great
linebacker. Is out. Willie Gray, I'm not even sure who that is. I'm not familiar with him, so he's questionable. Richie James, another guy, out. But the last two here, Kadarius Toney is questionable, and Isaiah Pacheco's questionable. Here's the thing, guys. If Kadarius Toney plays, that's good for Chicago. So I'm hoping he's playing.
The Bears want him to play. He could tip a ball right to us.
That's right. He better play. If he plays, then us doing this preview show could be the thing that gets a win. But that's it for the injury report. I don't really have anything else to say. I think the Braxton Jones thing is the biggest news. And obviously, Travis Kelce played last week, but he's probably more healthy this week. And that means not good things for Chicago.
Well, more to talk about with him in a later segment.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to get to our Bears of the Week. I think we're just going to leave it at that because I think it rolls off the tongue for me. I'm going to start us off with the offensive player that I think is going to be the most important for this game. And it's going to be really lame because everyone's going to be like, how do you not pick this guy? It's Justin Fields, guys. I mean, what's crazy is he's actually throwing the ball for more yardage over the last two games than he did on average last year. He is on pace for over 3,600 passing yards this year. Okay. Like it's not all bad, guys. Like I want the pocket presence to stay similar to what it is. I just want him to do two things. Rip it and throw the ball. Like, I don't want the hesitation, and there's too much hesitation.
And that could be the stuff going through his head.
Exactly. We heard him say he didn't blame the coaches. If you listen to the full quote, someone asked him, and he said coaching, not coaches, coaching. And then he kept talking about how he has too much information in his head. He's thinking too much. He's not just going out there and playing the game. He's not letting his instincts take over. He's so hyper-focused on everything. But what we're also seeing is he's doing a great job with all of his pre-snap reads. And even Getsy talked about it. You're hearing JT O'Sullivan and Tim Jenkins when they're doing their all-22 breakdowns. They're talking about his can checks, right? Those are big things that are happening right now.
That's coaching
positive.
Too. That's coaching too.
And it's a positive. Now he just needs to play.
Be instinctive.
That's right. He just needs to play free. It's not coaches that he's blaming. It's he's saying he's got too much in his head. And I get it because whenever you do a sport, golf, bowling, like any sport, if you overthink it, you start to fall.
So I'm glad you brought up other sports. So, I've played other sports, and probably my best sport is soccer. And I coached in soccer. And one of the things I prided myself on as a coach is I did most of my coaching during the week in practice. I don't like when the game is happening that I have to scream across the field. No. By the time I've screamed to you and you respond, it's too late anyway.
Yes.
One of my favorite days was silent soccer.
Yes.
My players just got to play. They should be talking. They should be communicating. They should be responding. And I know it's not the exact same thing. And that's Park District for kids. And this is
I can relate
the pros.
I'm still coaching soccer.
Right.
But I'm the Ted Lasso version of soccer because I didn't even know what a pitch was. And goalie or keeper? No, it's a goalie. So yeah, I'm definitely the Ted Lasso version. Luckily, I have a good assistant coach. But to what I do on game day is I don't coach out on the field either. I coach on the side.
Exactly.
When I'm switching kids out, then it's like, okay, guys, we're seeing them do this. We're seeing them do that. Let's make this adjustment. Let's make that adjustment. That part of coaching isn't happening with the Chicago Bears, though.
And that part shouldn't overwhelm Fields either.
No.
I would hope they've gone in with certain keys that they're looking for, certain adjustments that they need to make.
Yes.
But then you go out there, you operate, you perform.
Yeah.
And then during the next off week or during the next week, what did we see? What might we see? There's a lot of coaching that happens during the week. He acknowledged that.
Yep.
And there's a lot of coaching that goes on in the game, but he's got to get out of his own head. We could see it, which is why I don't know why people went nuts over the statement, because he was just saying what we already were observing. Right. So now, I agree with you. He's the key player.
The offensive line could be a big factor here, but again, they have no chance of winning unless Fields plays
balls out.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go defense.
Yeah. Well, you might be right. They may have no chance of winning. You could have just stopped there. Maybe. I don't know. But you picked a great offensive key, and I hope I can live up to that with the defense. Two people crossed my mind, but ultimately the person we're going to have our eyes on, I think, this week is Tremaine Edmonds. And the reason is, well, first of all, he is a force out there. He's just a huge presence, a big man, but with great speed. And when you hear big man, great speed, they got one of those on their offense, and that's Travis Kelce. So Edmonds has been highly regarded for his coverage skills.
Yep.
It doesn't get any tougher than trying to cover Kelce. And I'm not saying that's just going to fall on him. You're going to have to give him different looks and try different things on him. But if Edmonds can do anything to slow Kelce down, and let's also point out, as you already kind of did, Kelce's probably not 100%.
Right.
He definitely wasn't last week, although even not at 100%, I believe he caught a touchdown.
He did. So he had 9 targets, by the way. He led the team in targets, even though he was injured. And he had 4 catches for, I want to say 26 yards and a touchdown.
So it wasn't like a Travis Kelce type game.
No.
But he wasn't just out there as a decoy.
That's
and
right.
If anything, he's had one more week to get
and he didn't completely hurt your fantasy team because you got you a touchdown.
That's true. So that's a large task to ask on one guy. And so, like I said, it's not a one-man job. But anything Edmonds can do to slow him down or even potentially force a turnover would be huge. The Bears have not been forcing turnovers. And to go into you're playing the defending champs at their place, you're a double-digit dog. You're going to need, as you said, some amazing play from the offense and maybe a couple big plays from your defense.
Yeah.
So I got my eyes on Edmonds. Honorable mention would be Yannick Ngakoue. Sack in the first game, couple of plays in game 2 where he could have or should have had sacks. Imagine if he can get some pressure on Mahomes. I mean, when Mahomes has time to do his wizardry, you almost have no chance.
That's right. So
that's my honorable mention on defense. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree. I think it's going to be important. I'd be okay with a 4-catch, 25-yard game, even with a touchdown, if he was seeing 9 targets, because that means you're doing a good job containing him. They got to look out for Sky Moore a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see if this defense can do anything from a pressure standpoint. Not getting any sacks last week, only won the week before. It's not a good start.
All right. What was your target number? 30 on the year?
Yeah.
30 on the year. That's still fewer than 2 a game.
That's nothing.
That's not a high ask, but here you are 1 after 2 games.
And now I'm pleading.
And you've given up probably 12?
10. 6 and 4.
Okay. Yikes.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
those are not winning statistics.
By the way, we'll get to it in a second when we talk about the Chiefs, but they did have 4 sacks last week. So.
Oh, yeah. Chris Jones is no joke.
Yeah.
I thought maybe with his holdout, he'd come out rusty.
No.
2 sacks in his very first appearance, and the interior of the Bears line is already something I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Yikes.
All right, we're going to take a quick ad break. We'll be back, and we will talk about the Kansas City Chiefs as the opponent and a quick coach's corner. Enjoy these ads.
Welcome back, Hellas Huddlers. This is Justin Oniemi with Rob Schwarz, episode 59, the Rosie Colvin episode. This is a preview episode, our first preview episode of the year. We talked a little bit in the first part about an offensive player to have your eye on in this upcoming game against the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as a defensive player to keep your eye on. Now, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs is a tall task to take on, but we want to talk a little bit about what they bring to the table, as well as the coach's corner, where we will just pray. No, talk about what the Bears should be focused on if they are going to pull off what would be a pretty big upset.
It'd be a huge upset.
Yeah,
but we're going to talk about
any given Sunday, right?
We're going to talk about the Chiefs because there's some positives that could be had here for Chicago. We'll
I
see.
think if you're going to catch them early in the season, right?
That's right. They have not been the same Chiefs. All right. So first, we're going to look at the offense. Okay, opponent overview. Kansas City Chiefs are 1-1. Their loss came because of a Kadarius Toney horrible tip interception
pick six.
drop that was a pick six, and they ended up losing
six.
by 21-20 to the Detroit Lions. But here we go. We're going to look at the offensive stats here. So passing yards per game, they are getting 262 yards per game through the air. Last week, they had just over 300, so they definitely are bouncing back a little bit with Travis Kelce being there. Rushing yards per game, I'm sorry. So that is sixth best in the league, by the way.
Wow.
So
now the offense around the NFL has been down.
Yes.
And you could say it's the shortened preseason. But what we should also look at is it's been one of the most disappointing things to look at for the Bears. And maybe they're fitting in with the rest of the league.
Slow start.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Newer team, younger team, trying to gel. Maybe the back half. Maybe we'll have a Lions type,
for straws, man.
Lions type season, right? Their rushing game is not as good. 95.5 yards per game. That ranks them 20th in the NFL. By the way, for the passing yards, Chicago is ranked 24th. Also, I know that they are. These are ESPN stats. These stats are also negating passing yards for sacks.
Oh, yeah.
So right now it's showing the Bears only averaging 179 yards passed per game. I know that's not true. It's like 213 per game. So they are negating sacks, but that puts them 24th in the NFL. So 6th versus 24th in passing. Rushing. Kansas City is 20th with 95.5 yards per game. The Bears are 21st with 94.5 yards per game. So basically the same rushing game right there. I do think, well,
that's surprising.
That Patrick Mahomes is actually averaging 30 yards per game rushing. Yeah. So he's using his legs more this year. Justin, obviously not the case. He had 50-some the first week and I think 4 last week.
That's got to change.
That's going to change. I guarantee that's going to change.
No doubt. But when you kind of go about talking about the Chiefs, I mean, Kelce didn't play in game 1.
Yeah.
And he's coming back from injury in game 2. But it just goes to show how top-heavy they are in terms of, and I know it's kind of a cheap thing to say, but take Mahomes off that team or take Kelce off that team.
Yes.
You're looking at something very different. Now, they both are going to be up and running against the Bears this week.
You also got to, if you took Andy Reid off that team, you're looking at a very different team, too.
That's a good call.
So the one thing, though, that stood out to me, points per game, only 18.5.
Yeah.
And they didn't score a lot last week either.
No, they won 17-9.
So here's what's interesting. Chicago, 18.5 points per game. They both are tied for 22nd in the NFL with 18.5 points per game. I think that's a little bit of a positive.
All right, you heard it here first. It's going to be a tie game this week.
Hey.
Bears 0-2-1 will take it.
I mean, I would take a 20-17 victory.
Wow.
I'd even take a 17-20 loss. As long as Fields looks better or the offense.
Agreed.
So that's where we're at on the offense. Now let's get over to the defense. Speaking of Chris Jones. Defensive side of the ball, they are allowing 223 yards passing. So, again, they're allowing a decent chunk of passing yards there. That puts them 19th in the league, so a little bit worse than average. Chicago, though, is allowing 277 yards per game. That makes them 27th. Rushing, they're allowing 96 yards per game. That puts them 12th in the league. Chicago's allowing 106. That puts them at 16th in the league. So right there, it's not that far off, though, if we're looking at it. I know the rankings are a little bit far off, 19th, 27th, 12th, and 16th, but 96 rushing yards, I mean, that's a little bit more. That's basically what the Bears are averaging per game. If Fields can get his legs in this game, I mean, that could easily hit 120,
right,
130, and give me some more Roshan.
I hear 95 for the Bears. That sounds so low.
It is,
and I feel like
they're still also
want to
not
be a rushing
running
attack.
the ball.
I know, and they have to. But you got to look at it this way too. When you're chasing on the scoreboard, it's hard to stay with the running game.
True, but they've been in the games, for the most part. They were tied with the Packers at halftime, right? No, they were down 3, right? It was 10-7 at halftime in that game. And last week they were tied at halftime, right?
No, I don't think so.
Or were they down 3 in that game too? Either way, it was within one
close.
score at halftime in both games. And then it got away from them.
Yeah.
And last week, it didn't even get away from them. They were in it.
Yeah.
2 minutes left.
Well,
they had a chance to win that game.
I'm looking, though, at the final one you didn't say yet, which is the Chiefs are only giving up 15 points per game.
That's where we're going to get to.
Yeah.
Because Chicago is letting up 32.5. They are 31st in the league.
Who's worse? Probably the Giants. They give up 40 in week 1.
It might have been the Giants. I don't recall.
Anyway, that's where it's been ugly for the Bears.
The Giants or the Raiders. I don't remember.
Now, obviously, last week, giving up a pick 6. Although we talked about how in week 1 for the Chiefs, part of the points they gave up was a pick 6.
That's right.
So that still goes against your team total. But the Bears, I think I saw a stat, sent it to you and Bob, where they're the only team in NFL history to lose 12 straight games and have given up 25 points or more in every single one of them.
Yeah, it's a good record.
That's not there are certain things you don't want to be the only team to have done it. And that's one of them right there. So you have to tighten things up, but it's just hard to imagine you tighten them up while you're on the road going up against Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Unless you make a few big plays. And that's what we haven't seen yet this year from the defense.
Yeah.
And really, in the whole Matt Eberflus era, I can't think of a game or a stretch of games where the defense was making big plays.
And there's been opportunities.
Yes. Early in the game.
Brisker could have had a pick 6 last week.
When they showed the replay, I thought it kind of got more broken up by the offensive guy.
It
but
did.
Still, you got to make some plays.
Right. Or they had the fumble that just no one could get on.
Right.
There's been opportunities. They're just not.
You got to cash in on those if you have any hope of, 1, keeping it close.
Right.
But 2, in the NFL, there's no moral victories. I feel like if you win, you're going to have to make some big plays.
But also in the NFL, they say it's the game of inches, or it's 5 plays could dictate a game, or sometimes it's like luck. How does the ball bounce for you? Well, this isn't like a one-off, right? This team doesn't know how to win.
Exactly. Well, okay. So going off that narrative, I think it was, I'm trying to think if it was Jalen Johnson who was being interviewed, or one of the players who's been here a little longer, who said the losing is getting to me. But you look at a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, came from the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
He's not used to losing. You look at TJ Edwards, he's not used to losing. They were in the title game against these Chiefs.
I mentioned them in that other podcast where I was like, those are the 2 guys I'd really want to sit down and have a off the record conversation with. And
what do you think about coaching?
Listen to hear them say, what is going on here? Is it the coaching? Is it the players? Is it the chemistry? I'd really love to know what they think, because they've been with 2 winning programs.
Right. And if you look at the guys who've been here a couple of years now, which it isn't a whole lot, they don't have a good sense of what winning feels like. But pulling off an upset against the Chiefs could turn that around real quick.
Very much.
That's not what I'm predicting, but hey, like you said, 5 plays could go your way.
That is one thing that's not in this outline, but I think we're gonna have to throw a prediction at the end.
All right. Oh gosh, I hate making predictions.
All right. I'm gonna make you do it anyway.
Because my heart always wants something different than what my brain says.
We gotta prep for UFFL. That's our fantasy league for those of you who don't know.
I don't want to pick the Chiefs in streak.
No, I'm not doing it. Top key opponents and that's on this team. Patrick Mahomes, obviously the best quarterback in the NFL.
Who?
Yeah.
Mahomes.
I'm sorry. He's maybe top 5-ish. Travis Kelce, obviously another big name. We talked about him enough. Chris Jones, we mentioned him already too. Comes back. I think you said 2 sacks. I think NFL only gave him a sack and a half, but still, the guy's a wrecking crew, right? All by himself, and you got that interior of the line. We're going to see Feeney out there again at some point. Hell. Oh, that name wasn't on there, but Lucas Patrick is playing, by the way. He was also on the injury report, but not with a game decision notice, so he will be playing.
He might be the Kadarius Toney of the Bears.
That's right. Justin Reed and George Carl. I always mess up his name. Karlaftis. Karlaftis. Who also, by the way, has a sack in each game.
So I'll be honest with you. Nick Bolton being out is a big deal. Yeah. He is a force out there. So, not that I don't like to talk about injuries in a positive manner, but it just helps that you're not going to have to factor in how do you stop that guy. But they're a talented team. I mean, they're the Super Bowl champs for a reason. And so you have your hands full with a team like this.
Yep.
It's that much more important that you are focused, that you're not getting pre-snap penalties. Because let's be honest, like you said, 5 plays it could come down to. If you're in 1st and 20, if you're in 2nd and 18, that's the recipe for disaster.
Yeah. All right, let's switch over real quick. We're going to do this is going to be a real quick coach's corner because I'm going to tell you what I think they need to do, and it's not pretty. This is going to be a really ugly football game for Chicago if they're going to win. They need to win time of possession by a lot. And this doesn't mean
that doesn't even always work against the Chiefs.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't mean allowing the Chiefs to score in 30 seconds every time they had the ball, right? Because that's going to be, 32 to 20 some minutes, and they could run up the score 45-7. Okay. Yes, I gave them 7. I know it's hard to believe.
Convert on 3rd downs.
They need to convert on first and 3rd downs. They need to stop 3rd down conversions because they have been awful at it.
I'm tired of saying the keys
and long
saying
ones.
them in such simple terms.
I know,
but it's like fundamentals.
But we're talking like 3rd and 7 to 3rd and 12, and they're allowing that to be
consistently.
Yes, happened twice on the first drive last week.
So I mean, that's got to be a key. But it's not like, again, that's not any kind of earth-shattering news. You would imagine, especially if Fields feels he's being overcoached.
Yes.
I would imagine that's something coaches are talking about. Yes. But how is it coming across on the field? I will say this, though. You're right. 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, and I'm watching corners giving 8 yards of cushion.
Right.
Mahomes will tear you apart with that.
Yes.
You have to be giving them different looks. You have to be generating pressure.
And I think they're not allowing Tyreek Stevenson to play up, which I think is his game, right? He's a very physical corner. Like, I think he needs to play up. And I think they're not allowing it because they're worried about the PI calls because it was happening in the preseason. But you got to let him play.
And I still think I'd rather him play physical up at the line
than allow
and get a penalty that converts than just watching them slant us to death or even worse when he got beat on that 3rd and 13 for a touchdown.
Yes.
So schematically, there are some things they need to change, but that's a key statistic we're going to be looking at is 3rd down conversions on both sides of the ball.
So going back to my original statement, keeping the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. To do that, run the football. And I want to see less shotgun. I want to see some more under center stuff, some play action stuff. I want to see Kari Blasingame out there actually blocking. Okay. And I want to see Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert running the outside zone because it's not happening enough. But when they do, we're seeing some big chunk plays. And I don't understand why they're kind of abandoning it and going more straight up the middle. And they're just awful design runs.
So under center, are you talking about tight end sneaks?
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Give it to Cole Kmet.
I can't believe it took me till this point of the episode to mention it, but are we going to see any crazy Matt Nagy plays?
Oh, I hope so. Here's the over-under. How many times is the broadcast going to show Matt Nagy on this broadcast, right? Like
3.5 over and under?
I'll take the over.
Okay.
I'll take the over. Give me 5.
Okay.
5 times.
Now, is he the kind of guy that's going to have some special things up his sleeve just because it's the Bears, or is this any other week to him?
It's any other week to him.
You think so?
I think he's laughing inside, but I don't think he's going to.
That's why I could see him wanting to just give him one. Like, I told you I was a genius.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a laugher, because then he's more likely to pull something out like that.
If they're up big, then you're going to see some crazy ass shit, because he's going to want to put it on film and be like, look at you guys can't even stop this.
And I would have been great. It's just that you know what was around me was the problem.
Right.
So everyone looks smarter when they get a guy like Mahomes to coach.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. There's not much else to say other than who we think are gonna win. I am going to take Kansas City, obviously, but I do think that Chicago can cover the 12. I think Chicago can cover the 12. I'm going to put a point score out there of 27-23.
Okay. I had 27 in my mind, so I'm glad you didn't say the score I was thinking, because then I would have seemed like a copycat. I got Bears losing to the Chiefs. Chiefs 27, Bears 17. No real reason. That would cover.
It would.
And hey, I had the Bears winning the first 2 games and losing this one. So maybe I just suck at predictions, and
here we go.
everything I say, the opposite happens. So
that's the case.
We shall see.
We're going to do this every week. All right.
Yep. We'll see, man.
Bear down.
Bear down.